as he says, as he ready. I'm fine.
Oh God, just get in me.
I've got tea. I've got stew cooking. I'm absolutely not an emotional wreck. We're all good.
And that big old lubricated penis. Yeah. Let's go.
Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article each week and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Daniel, we are talking about Theo Chocolate. It is probably the nicest title of an article we've ever had on the show. I am delighted that, as per the rules of Clark-Catholicism, this was the first thing we randomised on.
It's pleasantly pleasing, isn't it? It's just, you know...
Just let that one roll off the tongue.
I almost have no questions.
Chocolate. Yeah.
I hear that title, I go... Okay.
In a way, you're like, I want that ignorance. I want to have that image of like a man who is made of chocolate. Perhaps he's like has the head of a Terry's chocolate orange, because Theo Chocolate is close enough to Terry's chocolate that it could be similar. See, I was a little bit disappointed when I read on because I hoped that Theo Chocolate was a man. It is not. Theo Chocolate is a chocolatier in Seattle, Washington. Established in 2006, it is the first organic fair trade certified cocoa producer in the United States.
Wow.
So it's actually a really nice thing. There is a picture of the building, which has Theo Chocolate written on the side. It's a red brick building that looks very... I imagine, actually, on a nice day, it would look lovely. It's a picture on a very overcast day, and it's a bit like, oh, that's a letdown. Theo, in my head, it should be like the Willy Wonka factory, but it's just like a squat. It kind of almost looks like a university lab building or something.
Really.
But this is a lovely article. So to delve into this one, I like the fact that for once we've had an article and everyone's just gone, oh well, tell me more. Like let's not get sidetracked by the stories of our lives. Let's actually learn about Wikipedia for once. So Theo has sourced beans from the Congo, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Madagascar, Peru, and Venezuela. Apparently, because it's an equatorial crop, cocoa only grows in the United States in Hawaii. So that's why they source from all over.
I see.
So it's the first organic fair trade certified cocoa producer in the US, and they take their beans. So they bring the beans from the world, and then they make the cocoa in the US. And let me tell you a story, because in the history section, I can tell you that the business was established in 2006 by Jeff Fairhall and Joe Whinney, two lovely names, in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle. It's located in a former brewery and trolley car depot. This is like Roald Dahl level of how nice this is.
Yeah.
So the founder, Jeff Fairhall, the founder of Seattle's Essential Baking Company. I love this man.
The EEBC, the SEBC.
SEBC. So the SEB won't let me be, so let me see.
There you go. Yeah.
Invested in the establishment of Theo Chocolate with Joe Whinney. When he was in his early 20s, Whinney volunteered with a small conservation foundation in southern Belize that was looking at the way that communities cultivate their crops. He developed a passion for the, Theobroma, not sure how you pronounce it, cacao plant, and wanted to get into business while supporting the farmers and contacted 10 bean processors. One responded. While providing this business with organic materials and customers, Winnie was able to start saving up to found a chocolate business of his own. So,
oh my God. Did he also manage to, did he find a golden ticket and suddenly get a grant?
As soon as you involve chocolate, it's a magical journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Roald Dahl really knew what he was like writing about in that sense.
It does sound so pure.
Yeah, a guy who founded the Seattle Essential Baking Company teams up with a guy who was in Belize and developed a passion for this particular plant and was like, I'm gonna contact the bean processors. Like, you don't get that in other industries, like, I don't know, the candle industry or the envelope industry or something. There's no romance about that. Chocolate is a romantic industry. I'm sure
Absolutely.
it is. I'm sure it's got a bunch of things wrong with it, and there's probably a Netflix documentary out there about how horrific the chocolate trade is. So where were we? We contacted the bean processors, and one responded. The business struggled to find a good supply of organic cocoa beans and came to a halt in 2002. After finding an interested investor in Seattle, the decision was made to build the Theo Chocolate Factory, named after the Theo Broma, however you're supposed to pronounce it, cacao tree.
I see.
And then Fairhall sold all of his other business interests, retaining only the chocolate company. He published more than 30 advertisements in... I definitely thought that said The Strangler. The Stranger, which is an alternative bi-weekly newspaper in Seattle about various religious ideas, revelations, and conspiracy theories. He also mentioned his use of magic mushrooms. What? I'm sorry. What? This paragraph is.
So we've now reached in the Willy Wonka kind of subplot. We've reached this bit where they go through the tunnel and they all have that massive trip.
Yeah, and they didn't tell the kid actors, so their reactions are completely genuine.
Yeah,
the children are us in this scenario. So basically, very sweet article about this chocolate company, and then
nice.
From 2004 to 2006, Fairhall sold his other business interests, and then something about him publishing advertisements about conspiracy theories and his use of magic mushrooms, and then he died of brain cancer in 2007.
Oh, this isn't how Willy Wonka ends. That's not the story.
No. And then there's a gap, and then in April 2018, Etienne Patou, a former Kellogg's executive, became the company's CEO. That is, I'm not missing anything out. That is the gap in the history paragraph.
So from 2007 to 2018, nothing noteworthy happened.
Well, also, it was established in 2006. Our chronology goes in terms of the life cycle of this company. 2006, founded. 2007, founder dies of brain cancer. 2018, a Kellogg's executive becomes the company's CEO.
Oh my God. So who was the one who died? Fairhall died?
Yeah, Fairhall.
Because there was another guy. What's the other guy doing?
The other guy, I guess, is still there. Joe Whinney. Whinney. It doesn't say anything about him. He doesn't have his own Wikipedia article, so I don't know. And then
Joe Whinney, if you're listening, get in touch.
Get in touch.
We're curious as to know what's going on
because it sounds delicious. Also, it says that the company sells chocolate bars in 6 different categories: classic, fantasy, limited edition, baking, kids crunch, and holiday. Not a lot of those are like categories that I wouldn't have. What is fantasy chocolate?
No idea.
Other than what Lupin gives you.
Yeah, eat this. It'll help.
You'll feel better.
Yeah.
Baking chocolate. Oh no, that's presumably for like, chocolate brownies and things like that. Okay.
So I've gone to the Theo Chocolate website.
Oh, okay.
And I'm on the shop, and they've broken things down into, so they go by their chocolates go via season. So we've got fall treats. For those not American, that's autumnal treats. We've got Pearl Jam, the Home Shows bar. 70%.
What is Pearl Jam?
Pearl. It's called Pearl Jam, the Home Shows bar. Banding together to fight homelessness. I guess all sales of this one.
Okay.
I don't know why it's Pearl. Proceeds from this bar benefit the Home Shows, a program of Pearl Jam's Vitality Foundation. The Home Shows is something about the band Pearl Jam do.
Right. Okay.
To alleviate homelessness in King County. Okay, that's nice. We also have double chocolate peanut butter cup, sorry.
Ooh.
We've got the Seattle bar, which is 45% milk chocolate. We've got new turmeric spice, black quinoa crunch, salted toffee, cherry almond, pure 45... The snozberries taste like snozberries. This is just crazy. Wow, this looks quite nice. Oh, they've got a ghost. Oh my God, they've got a ghost chili chocolate.
Ooh.
Now, I'm not saying we should do this, but we should buy some, try it, and make a video.
Can you buy some? Because I'm coming to Exeter this week. So,
okay, I'll see if I can order some. I don't know whether it's because... so I don't have to buy it in bulk, do a corporate amount of...
the Wikicast now has holdings of a ton of chocolate. I wonder if
Theo Chocolate is on Amazon.
Oh, you're thinking Amazon priming it?
Yeah. Because I imagine it'll probably be better. Yeah, it is.
Oh, could you please get some? We'll record it and put it on Spongy and Electric.
Okay, well, if I do, because now that I'm on here, we need to choose be part of this process, everyone. So,
welcome to a first for this podcast, everyone. We are going to be live buying a product that we learned about from Wikipedia. This is truly groundbreaking stuff.
Oh my God, some of them are so expensive. It's crazy.
Well, we do have our Wikicast Patreon for a reason, and I don't think that our fans would like anything more than for their money to be spent on buying outrageously expensive and hot chocolate.
See, I don't know if they've got the ghost chili one. They've got just a chili one, 70% dark chocolate, a chili. They've got the novelty chocolate bar.
Right. What is novel about it?
It literally just says yummy scrummy chocky bar. Did
Russell Brand write their descriptions for them?
Yeah, apparently so, yeah. Given that this is underwhelming on Amazon, I will go and I'll buy the ghost chili one.
Hang on, so is the ghost chili one on Amazon?
No, sadly not. But I can get it off the website as long as they ship internationally.
Yeah, and in time.
Yeah. So when are you here? This weekend?
Yeah, this week for the Come and Sing that Chapel's doing.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to get 2 of them. Calculate shipping. Select a country. Oh, they don't ship internationally.
Well.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, hang on. If I go on Amazon, there is a chocolate. Oh my god! So I can go on it. The Theo chocolate bar dark chili, because there's no A in dark apparently.
That's the one I can see.
Usually dispatched within 1 to 3 months.
Hell. That's crazy. Okay.
Do they do anything on Prime?
Also, every single one is currently unavailable. We don't know when this item will be back in stock. Every single bar.
Useless. Absolutely useless.
Hang on, have we discovered something? The last time somebody reviewed any of these chocolates was 2015.
Oh.
Have they gone under? Do you reckon that there's something here that we don't know about, and it's actually this is why none of it's available?
And there's nothing in their history section.
Oh, and there's years missing.
They brought in a Kellogg's executive to turn the company around, maybe, and that was in April this year. Maybe they've gone under. Oh, this is exciting.
I want to know where... Okay, so Glassdoor do it, which is somewhere I've used before because there's a really, really good chocolate in New Zealand called Whittaker's.
Right.
And it's specifically this Whittaker's is a there's various different Whittakers all over the country, but it's specifically the New Zealand one, and I think it's the best chocolate I've ever had in my life. It's the best. Shout out to that chocolate. People in New Zealand, if you know what I'm talking about, email in. And yeah, oh god, it's just
better. Yeah, I was going to say email us in chocolate. That doesn't make sense. The companies, if you're listening, please do send us free chocolate.
Yeah, why don't we just we'll petition to Theo Chocolate and see if they'll send us some stuff.
Dear Theo Chocolate, we've just learned about your excellent product, and we would like to buy some, but we apparently can't.
But we can't.
So
yeah, ghost chili. Come on, it'll be hilarious.
It would be amazing. We will 100% make a video for you on our channel, which gets tens of views.
Yeah, loads.
It'll be quite something. It does appear that they're still operational, because I just found an article in August saying they just named a new chief marketing officer.
Wow.
So they are still...
Well, he needs to up his game, because currently you can't buy shit anywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds delightful.
Yeah. There's loads of videos of that on YouTube. Theo Chocolate, mission, values, recipes and sweet secrets from...
The 3 sections in this article are history, references, and then between those 2, video case. Cengage Learning produced a 6-minute 44-second BizFlix video case titled Theo Chocolate. Oh, it's a case study. Right. That would have been helpful. Yeah. Wow, we've gone very deep on this one. I don't know if we've ever gotten so invested in an article before. What's gone into us?
Oh, I might be able to get it off eBay.
Oh, no, that's a thought.
This is a true hunt now. I said hunt, Hunt. I want the ghost chili one. Theo Chocolate chili. Yeah, they've just got the normal chili one, which is a bit sad. I'm not going to rest until I've managed to get a ghost chili one.
This has become our quest.
If you live in America and you want to ship us,
oh please,
you want to order some stuff and send it to us, we'll give you a shout out and we'll do a video, and we'll FaceTime or Skype you personally of us both eating it as a thank you before we make the video, and we'll have a chat as to this would be amazing.
I'm 100% behind that.
If you want to send it to us, it's spongyelectric@gmail.com. I don't know how you're going to send it via the interwebs, but
we'll
you'll
work
find
out.
a way.
We'll have to give you an address at some point.
Yeah, a nondescript. It's Mary Harris Chapel. Send it all through there.
We can ask the chaplain if she's willing to take delivery of a suspect package for us.
Yeah.
Like 100% not drugs. It's just chocolate. Well, actually,
chocolate.
Do you have like a pigeonhole at the cathedral that you could use?
Yeah, you could send it to the cathedral office, I suppose, and then it'll be delivered to me.
Yeah, because we know the people in the cathedral office. Like,
yeah.
This is gold. Okay, but we'll have to do that because I am so now invested in Theo Chocolate's Ghost Chili Chocolate.
Oh man, I want to. Yeah. I really hope it just absolutely blows your bloody head off. That's the thing. A really intense kind of, because I like spice, and in fact, we may have mentioned it before. Where was it the Atomic place you went?
Atomic
Burger. Where you ate
the
the spiciest thing ever and it nearly killed you?
Yeah, that was one of the least pleasant experiences in my entire life.
Good Lord.
Which we may end up doing again at some point. I feel like
I really want to try it.
I would be 100% up for going with you and doing it, and like especially if we can get like a private room and film it properly, I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've actually talked about the article for quite a while. I feel like I should ask you what's been going on. How is my boy in the cathedral doing?
Oh, it's a thrill. It's a joy. It's every day's a lesson. No, I'm having a really good time. We had a pretty fraught weekend. We had ordinations on Saturday. So I had ordinations 2 weeks ago for deacons, and now it was priests, which was very emotional, but it was the same music, so it wasn't too bad. I then had Eucharist and Evensong on Sunday, where we did a really hairy arrangement of the Magnificat Nunc Dimittis by a guy called Hewitt Jones, and it's his setting for Magdalen, Oxford. There is no recording of it, so I don't know why I'm going into this level of detail, but I can tell you that it was a bit of a pig to sing. It was one of those pieces, I think, much like when we were introduced to some stuff in the chapel choir. You'd pick it up in rehearsal for the first time and look at it, except obviously the difference with the cathedral is you just get given the music a week before, and when you sing it, you have to know it. So I'd kind of given it a play through and was like, okay. And because you hadn't heard it, I hated it. And then in the service, we rehearsed it for about 15 minutes beforehand. And kind of I fell in love with it a bit because it's really different. I haven't heard a setting like it. It's really unique and not in a kind of Kenneth Layton, it's just crunchy as sin and that's what makes it different. It's just a really unique, it's a really unique arrangement. Anyway, so that was kind of fun. But what that meant was it was an incredibly busy weekend. I sang in a concert on Saturday. The Exeter Philharmonic needed a tenor to kind of boost their tenor section, so I sang the Fauré Requiem, which is a lovely piece. Yeah. And I'm going to butcher this. I think it's Dvorak, is it?
Dvorak,
yeah. His Mass in D.
Oh, I've not heard that, I don't think.
It's very high. It's very good. And it was a lot of fun. So I did that on Saturday night, which was really cool. And then I got to meet some of the new choral scholars because I nipped in on to the new chapel choir social because, of course, the new choir has been put together now. The new scholars have been contacted and accepted, and there is now a new, we have a full choir for the chapel choir, which is really cool. So I got to meet some of them at a social as I kind of knocked on the lounge door. I let myself into the house, and I was in like full black tie coming from this concert, carrying some beers, and kind of came through. So it was a bit of a kind of in at the deep end. Oh, hi. Yeah. And of course, I was immediately ripped into me to, oh, you're in the cathedral choir. Oh, did you go to a concert? Oh, so I was like, thanks, guys. That's
You've
really
become
nice.
that old guy that turns up and like some of the old choir members know, and then the new people are like, oh my God, who's that? They're at the cathedral.
Yeah.
They must be good. And little do they know.
Little do you know, I'm actually a massive shit muncher. Yeah. But
great use of the word.
It was nice. It was nice to meet them. That was really fun. But all in all, it was a really, really, really busy weekend and quite a busy week actually. It was the first week back academic, the academic year. So I've taken great solace in not having much to do today at all. I did a bit of reading, which is always good. I'm currently making a stew I'm not making it. It's in the cupboard. I'm not sitting in the kitchen doing everything really quietly. It's in the oven. It's been in there for about 3 hours. Low and slow. It's going to be pretty good. It's a Gordon Ramsay recipe, and I've already made the dumplings. I will put in later. So when James gets home, new housemate, we can have a nice dinner. I'm basically a housewife, and is anyone really surprised?
Absolutely not. I mean,
no, not at all.
we should point out. So we didn't do an episode last week, despite the fact that the very previous week we said we were hopefully not going to miss a single one.
This is true.
This was entirely due to stuff out of our control, basically.
Yeah.
I can't. You would know that I would be ripping the shit out of Dan if it was something to do with him, and he would be doing the same to me. It was just stuff beyond our control. When we were supposed to record, stuff happened. So, we just thought we'd leave it for the week. But it does now mean we have more to talk about because so much has happened. I mean, so since we last recorded, two things I should probably bring. Actually, no, I'll bring up one thing now, and then one thing in Critics Corner. The thing I'll bring up now is I went to Eton and gave a talk. Which was quite an amazing experience, actually. Because as people will have seen by now, by the time this comes out, I'm doing a new vlog series, or I'm doing a monthly vlog. And I'll sort of talk about it and show the experience in that a bit. The decision to go there wasn't necessarily an easy one, because so much of what I've done online has been access stuff. It's been trying to level the playing field and help kids from backgrounds like mine to sort of see that they can go to Oxbridge, and to but to try and give them equivalent advantages to the advantages that kids from people that go to Eton, their kind of advantages that they have. And it was a really interesting experience to go there, and because I accepted, partly because I just wanted to give a talk and get better at doing that, but also to see what their side of the fence was like, to see the people who aren't being targeted by access and why the school is so successful. Because I feel like a very common response to Westminster and Eton and Rugby and Harrow and all these places having very high rates of admission to Oxbridge is, they know the tutors, so that's why they're getting in, which isn't true. Like, I have never seen, in my personal experience, a single case of a tutor letting someone in because they know them or because there's like a connection. The reason these kids get in is partly because the education they get, it's so fantastically academically. Like 80% of Eton, I think, got A stars in their subjects at GCSE. But it's in going there, you see the other advantages they have. So, for example, there were clubs for Oxbridge admission for each subject. So there was an Oxbridge medical club. So just for kids who are applying for medicine at Oxbridge. And, there was one for physics. There was one for, maths or biology. So the kids who I was talking to, the sixth formers, I was talking to them about what they were doing and just sort of, hearing that kind of thing, that kind of structure existing. And also the fact that they have half the teaching staff of physics have PhDs, for one thing. There are 10 physics teachers, and I think it was 4, might have been 5 of them had PhDs. And there's a tutorial system where they go to the teachers' houses and sort of have a chat about how things are going and get help with personal statements, that kind of thing. And it was quite sort of interesting in the sense that walking around the school must have felt for me like how other people who didn't go to Oxbridge for undergrad feel when they go and look around Oxbridge, in the sense that not only is this a sort of a structure, like an institution that I have no part in, that I don't know what happens behind those closed doors, and so I kind of assume the worst and see all the white tie and the fancy dress and all that kind of thing and think it's very strange. But at the same time, the architecture of the school is exactly the same as a lot of Cambridge colleges. The chapel is the sister chapel to King's College Chapel, Cambridge. There are so many things which make those kids, if they were to visit Oxbridge and have a look around the colleges, to not feel entitled, but to feel like this is a natural continuation of what I've been doing up until now with my life. Like that the school,
it's like the next logical step.
Yeah, in a way, Oxbridge just feels like an extension of the school, and I think that is, in a way, the most powerful advantage that those kids have, is that just thinking that it's not unusual to apply and to get in. Because I think for most kids, certainly from my background in state comp backgrounds, it's not assumed that you will apply, and it's absolutely not assumed that you will get in. And so that puts so many people off, sort of without even they don't even consider it. Whereas I think it would be unusual to not consider it in a school like Eton. I'd be very interested, incidentally, if anyone in the readership is at Eton and wants to challenge me on this. So this was my impression based on a single evening going there and eating in the hall, which was like an Oxbridge College hall, and giving a talk in this auditorium that was like an Egyptian temple. It was opened a couple of years ago and it was literally like an Egyptian temple. It was bizarre. In a quad that was opened by Prince Charles.
Of course.
Like, I'd be very interested to hear your opinion, because mine is based on, a single evening. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience going. Like, very, very strange.
Well, it's interesting you say. I mean, two of the current choral scholars at the cathedral and the new organ scholar are all old Etonians.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And, while they, there'll be times maybe on an evening, certainly when the new choral scholar and new organ scholar joined, they'd kind of reminisce about their time there. But there's never been a sense of, privilege and kind of just unpleasant.
The kids themselves, who I were talking to, were lovely. Like, they're completely normal kids if you were to take them out of that context of how ridiculous the situation we were in was. And it isn't a case of, oh, well, you didn't go to Eton kind of thing. Oh, your family doesn't own land. They were completely normal. And that goes for the Etonians that I met at Oxford too. They were, I think in some cases quite keen to distance themselves from the school because of the impression that people get of them. But yeah, because I was talking to one of the guys who was there, who was a choral scholar at Eton, and they did a Parry festival.
Cool.
And it was, and as he pointed out, that means singing the same chord progressions over and over and over again. But yeah, like comparing notes.
There is no doubt that it's Parry when you're singing his stuff. I mean, I guess that's kind of true with like any composer with like a massive, certainly choral, with a massive output. You can usually pretty easily identify who it is.
Well, actually, on that note, should we take a quick skip over to Critic's Corner so I can criticise something else?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, we're going to go now. But wait, hang on. Sorry, I timed that wrong. We're going to go... No, oh wait. Now. The other thing which I wanted to talk about was on Saturday night, I had a very interesting experience. I went to a centenary concert of Holst's The Planets.
I remember seeing the photo, actually,
Yeah, so it was exactly 100 years ago since it was first performed. Now, I'm going to have to quickly double-check this, because I think the first performance was a private one that was paid for because Holst was leaving his post, and a friend of his paid for the musicians to be able to put on this work that Holst had written as like a farewell present. And so it was in front of an audience of 250 people, 29th of September 1918, and then the first public performance was in 1920. And what was special about the performance that I went to was the one and only Professor Brian Cox was giving lectures about, sort of mini lectures of like 5 minutes, about the planets before each movement. And,
cool. And
what was interesting was linking how Holst perceived the planets to how we now perceive them, with all the benefit of however many, 100 years more science. And, in some cases that worked very well. And for Jupiter, for example, he was talking about how we now associate the tune that we now call Thackstead, the classic, when you think of Jupiter, the or the I Vow to Thee My Country tune. We associate that very much with nationalism, patriotism, and all that kind of thing. And yet Holst was a very deeply convicted socialist, and how when we got to Jupiter with a spacecraft, we took the famous pale blue dot image, showing how the Earth was just a tiny pixel in this huge landscape, and how Carl Sagan wrote this lovely thing about how conquerors of old have shed rivers of blood to be master of a tiny fraction of a dot, and how science can be used as this great kind of collaborative notion, this thing that brings everyone together, a common cause that allows us to transcend national borders. And so maybe we can convert Thackstead being this patriotic idea of being sort of turning inwards and make it more associated with that idea of togetherness and coming together for a greater ideal. And that was lovely. And there was this moment where it was very, very powerful, and the audience broke out in spontaneous applause. And then at the same time, before Mars, he was like, everyone associates this with mechanized warfare and all that kind of thing. What if we were to associate it with exploration? And when we go to Mars, we will become the Martians and we will take the planet for ours. And it was very much as if like you were a Warhammer explorer. It's just like, imagine Mars playing and be like, the planet is ours. It's ours now. We own it. We own this land. It was just very like it was like, in the most violent sections of the piece, trying to remember his words, and I was like, no, that doesn't work at all, Brian. This is the most violent piece of music. Because that was the thing in the program notes that came with it. You realize, like, compare that to other pieces at the time, and you have to sort of forget what it sounds like, because it's so in our psyche what the music of the planets is, that you can't really imagine a world without it. But imagine hearing that for the first time in 1918.
Yeah, it would have been insane.
Like, it was you sort of it was this monumental work in the modernist kind of tradition, like which is strange in the sense that like it was based on astrology, like the astrological characters of these planets, and yet it was a piece that kind of was bursting into modernity and associated with science now. It's fascinating, a really fascinating piece, really.
I'd love to hear it live. I know I have a friend who went to the proms and heard it conducted. I think it was. I know he definitely heard John Wilson Orchestra do. I think it was him doing the Planet Suite and. Oh, what's that musical with the jets?
West Side Story.
Yeah, but it may have been somebody else. But I know he heard West Side Story and the Planet Suite. And John Wilson is an amazing conductor, and his orchestra is just incredible. Because
the thing with hearing it live is, the end of Neptune is one of the most amazing things, because it's for those of you that don't know, it's the only part of the suite that has voices scored for it, except the voices are specified that they're off stage and they're in a separate room, and as the piece comes to the last bar, the singers repeat the last bar over and over and over again whilst the door to the room that they're in is slowly closed. And so you get this sense of incredible distance. And it's one thing to hear it in a recording, but being in the Barbican in London with an orchestra in front of you, and then somewhere behind it, some unspecified distance, and you never know how far away they are, to hear that and to hear it get quieter and quieter, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
If I was to criticise it, the music was fantastic. Although what they chose to do was to do a video presentation with the music, and it was a bit like a sixth form was putting on a production in the sense that like it was just sort of images of, for example, Mars, and it was like bang, 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 cut, like no fair. Like in some cases it worked very nicely, like for example with Mercury, when it got to a very playful part of the Mercury suite, there were a series of videos of Mercury transiting the sun, so going in front of the sun, and you can see this planet speeding along, and it worked very well. But then like there were points where it was just like cut, and it was really distracting. And also at one point when Saturn, I think it was Saturn started, they started showing a picture of Jupiter, and then a picture of Saturn, and then a picture of Uranus, and then back to a picture of Saturn. And it was a bit like someone was frantically mashing a button.
Like when they skip too far ahead in a PowerPoint. And they're like, which one was it?
I've ruined that bit. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And then you've got to go through each animation on the slide really awkwardly quickly. You've got this text like coming through.
So that was interesting. That was a bit crap, but
the anniversary point you made. I don't know if you knew this, but the Symphonic Evensong on Sunday, which is a yearly
is that
event.
This Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a yearly event that happens with Exeter Cathedral Choir, University Exeter Chapel Choir, and the Exeter. I forget which orchestra. It may well be Philharmonic, but I could be wrong. Let me check. Anyway, the anthem is Parry's Blessed Pair of Sirens.
Oh, nice.
And we didn't realise that Exeter Symphony Orchestra, there we go. It's the, I think it's like, I forget it's the anniversary of his death, basically, on that day.
Oh, really?
And this was I was having a chat with the director of music at the cathedral in the pub, and he was like, "Yeah, I just actually kind of did a bit of kind of searching around and realised that this happens to be the day that's on, which is awesome."
Oh wow, that's
Awesome music. To be fair, the introit is "My Beloved Spake" by Hadley.
I don't think I know that.
It's awesome. It's the first piece I ever sang when I deputised at Exeter Cathedral. As the anthem, and the piece is amazing, but I've only just within the past couple of weeks heard the orchestral arrangement, and it's like a different piece. It's just incredible. Then we've got "Great is the Lord" by Elgar as the psalm, "Stamford in B flat," and "Blessed Pair of Sirens" by Parry. And then I imagine it's probably going to be something like Smith or Rose for the responses, something nice and loud.
No, yeah. So whilst you were talking, by the way, I'm on the wiki for the planet. You know, I said that the premiere was a gift by someone else. I didn't realize who it was. It was a name that I'd never thought I'd see in any other context. The premiere was financed by H. Balfour Gardner.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's cool. Evening Hymn.
Yeah, I've never heard his name anywhere else.
That's very cool.
But yeah, he was a friend of Holt's apparently. So there we go. That was a fun little thing. But yeah, so sorry, I've been rambling on. What do you have anything that you would like to criticise today?
Well, I finally got round to watching Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yes. You briefly mentioned this before we started recording,
and
your verdict was it was okay.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I watched it and I thought, you know what? I wanted to stick it on. I did. I watched it. I was like, that was quite fun. And I just kind of consumed it, and that was it. You know, I didn't really give it too much thought. I thought the story was pretty cool. I thought the way that you know, I thought the casting was really quite good. It's been criticised a lot for, you know, just having these massive names in it that absolutely don't need to be there. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to pull up. I always forget his name. What is he? Anyway, the guy who played Han Solo was awesome. The presence of Woody Harrelson and Emilia Clarke, entirely unnecessary.
Is it Taron Egerton, something like that?
Alden Ehrenreich?
Oh, no, because he was the guy from Hail Caesar, wasn't he?
Yes. And I thought he was really good.
Okay.
I think he was very well cast, and he clearly done enough of it, like, to be his own younger interpretation, but equally, he'd done enough kind of clearly looking and working with thingy.
Harrison Ford?
Dan. Yeah, that's the one.
Your memory's
to
like
pick up on little mannerisms, and similarly with
oh my God.
Donald Glover. Sorry. Donald Glover's performance.
And can you remember who played Lando Calrissian in the first one?
Yeah, Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, but who played him in the first one?
Who played Lando Calrissian?
Yeah, in the first movies. Can you remember their name? I'm just testing your memory now.
I absolutely know who played Lando Calrissian in the first bit, but I want to know whether you know.
He says typing.
Yeah.
It's Billy D. Williams.
It was obviously played by that. Yeah, of course. As he says, closing the tab, he'd search through.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I should watch it really, because I think everybody basically had the reaction of, when it came out. Everyone was like, oh, I might go and see it, which is the first time that's ever happened with a Star Wars film. It's either I'm definitely not going to see it, or I absolutely have to see it.
Yeah, I think it probably was following the Rogue One. Everyone, you know, given the kind of the interesting reception that had. The only reason I watched Solo was I was listening to an old Triforce podcast episode, and Sips mentioned that he'd watched it. Him and his wife watched it, and he said it. Yeah, he said I really liked it. I thought it was going to be really awful, but actually it was quite a lot of fun. So I decided to take the chance. It's also just become available to rent on iTunes. So
right.
I thought I'd grab it, but yeah, it's cool. You know, I'm glad I didn't pay full price in cinema to go and see it, but equally, it's all right. You know, it's quite a lot of fun.
Oh well, I mean, I will have to try it, especially now it's rentable. Because I'm going to go see the I think it's called A Star Is Born, the one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, because apparently that's excellent.
Oh yeah, I heard I saw the interview on Graham Norton about it, where Lady Gaga's talking about Bradley Cooper's singing voice.
Yes, Pixelgun. I just watched that before we I came to recording, along with Lady Gaga meeting. Is it June Brown, the lady who plays Dot in EastEnders, and the two of them getting along like an absolute house on fire.
Yes,
but yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna go see that. And there was another thing that I was thinking of watching that's coming out soon. There's some interesting stuff coming along, down the pike. Is that an actual expression? Because I heard that in an ASMR video.
Down the pike?
Yeah, I always thought it was down the pipe. But, apparently it's in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Hang on.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. So you say that and I think of Gordon.
Gordon Pike. Gordon's alive!
Man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, pike is short for turnpike.
Right.
So it means that you know, as in like a road that tolls were collected on.
Oh, I see. Right.
So it kind of means the same thing as turn down the pipe. But I heard it in a video, and I was like, that's not a real phrase. What's this guy talking about?
I think I'm going to stick with pipe.
Yeah, I'll stick with pipe. But yeah, there are some interesting movies coming out. I think at the moment he says googling movies coming out soon. Oh yeah, Venom. I'm gonna miss. But
I'm gonna try and get a group of people together to watch The Nun because I'm a little bit invested in the that series.
And of course, you've got Fantastic Beasts to look forward to as well.
Yeah, true. Well, whether I'm looking forward, I'm just really scared, to be honest. The
first one was fine. It was the Solo of Harry Potter movies.
It was okay. It was all right. I really loathe how much that the entire the magic part of the films, which arguably is one of the largest parts
of a Harry Potter universe.
It just turns into flick your wand and lightning happens and then stuff. That's it. Whereas, that's so not the point. There's a degree of thought and what she'd done in terms of actually just thinking up intuitive spells, and even if they just said some of the words or did at least try and do something that wasn't just kind of like, oh, how cool can you look flicking a piece of wood, like that's not the point. There is a particular movement on the kind of like the spell charting of. Anyway, I'm a huge dork about it.
No, but I agree. And I mean, to be fair, like from a filmmaking perspective, I also feel like they've wasted a lot of opportunities with where they're basically retreading the whole Mudbloods being a parallel for racism. Like I feel like they've missed an opportunity to make it as about a different issue. Like, it's Newt Scamander. It should be about the environment. It should be about extinction or environmental degradation or something like that, a parallel to climate change. And they were like, nah, we're going to do the racism thing again.
Yeah. Well, they've also had this whole big. There's been a load of like backlash over the casting of Nagini.
Nagini's cast as someone?
Yeah. So it's
Scarlett Johansson.
Where is it? No,
she plays everyone.
Nagini. Here we go. So, bear with me.
There is a bear with him, everyone.
So, is this first? Yeah. So from what I've seen in pictures, it looks like Nagini was a person. Yeah. The latest trailer for the next film in the Harry Potter prequel series introduces to us Nagini's human form, working as a shapeshifter in Circus Arcanus.
So, what? She's a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
That she's a snake.
Yeah. Well, so a new theory on MuggleNet reckons Nagini will permanently transform into her snake form that same year, because we don't know if Nagini was ever just a snake.
Right.
But it may well be that.
Oh, this is now that's maybe slightly angry about it now. It's like there's.
Well, this is what I mean. It's these little details and things that annoy me, because there's, especially when you forget that this film is explicitly about Grindelwald, but we saw him in the previous film,
but and there are moments where about Grindelwald again. Like I feel like
I know that's true. That's absolutely true and fair. But given that that's that is a fake character they're focusing on, he was like, in terms of his like power, Voldemort trumped him. But he was still just insanely gifted. And all that you see, it's just, if he's a really good musician, if he's a really good magician, he doesn't just kind of flick his wand about and that's it. So much of it's about, hopefully this film will do a little bit more, but I personally found that, some of the bits that they focused on in Fantastic Beasts, the first film, were just, they didn't seem right to me. There are other things going on. And I thought, hence, the Credence Barebone.
Oh, yeah.
Played by that guy whose name I also forget. He's got a weird name. He's brilliant, and his backstory was super interesting. And hopefully he'll have a bit more of a kind of Ezra Miller. That's it. And we get to see Jude Law's interpretation of Dumbledore. Yeah,
which is one of the few things about it that I'm actually interested in.
Zoe Kravitz as Lestrange.
Have we seen? No, we haven't seen that before, have we?
No, we saw a picture of her in the first, like a picture frame.
Yes, we did in Scamander's
Newt,
shed. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be good. Like, I mean, the two that I'm looking forward to, there's Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen biopic.
Oh, that looks super. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually in a bit of a Queen phase at the moment, to be fair. Because Postmodern Jukebox did a version of Who Wants to Live Forever, which is excellent, and it's an underrated song, and it's an absolute banger, and people should listen to it.
Mike Myers is in that film.
In
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Mike Myers?
Yeah.
John Adams. Oh, okay.
He's playing Ray Foster.
Oh, okay. I had no idea. That's interesting. So that, and then also because I've got a soft spot for it. I'm definitely gonna go see Creed 2 because I'm a big fan of the Rocky films. I still need to see the original Creed. The reason Creed 2 is caught my eye is because it's got the villain is the son of Ivan Drago from Rocky 4, who is the best villain of all time. And yeah, as soon as he came up in the trailer, I was just immediately 100% invested, and I was definitely going to go and see it. So there is some stuff coming out. There's also Mortal Engines, Google is reminding me.
Oh yes, that's Peter Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah, Peter Jackson, and it's a very interesting concept. It's worth with the novel that it's based on. So yeah, there's stuff coming out. We're not totally being starved here, but
no.
Yeah. I need to watch more stuff. Although actually, I say that I need to watch more stuff that's not YouTube, because I was looking at my I tweeted it earlier. My average YouTube watch time per day is about 4.5 hours.
Strong.
Because you can see it. Have you got the YouTube app on your phone?
I think I used to, and then I went through a bit of a purge. I don't really watch much anymore, to be honest.
Because that's the thing. You can look at the statistics of how much you watch.
Okay, let's see. How do I do that?
So, have you got the app on your phone? So if you go to your...
time watched, yeah, got it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I just said that without moving my lips.
My daily average is 1.5 hours.
So that's still substantial.
Yeah.
I seem to have had more than almost everybody who replied to the tweet with their numbers, apart from the Moustache Man, who had like 6.5 hours or 7, or it might have even... Hang on, I'll see. I've got... Because Cameron deserves the credit of having the correct number of hours.
A lot of people use it as like a podcast thing that they stick on the background, though, right? I guess that's the other thing to consider.
I do that.
Yeah, true. I think, the only stuff that I actively go like, I really am keen to watch this is usually something like, Hat Films, but I'm selective with their stuff now.
Yeah.
Brad Leone, who I've mentioned from Bon Appetit, who does the Staying Alive thing, which I think is just hilarious. In fact, I will just watch the playlist on repeat because he really makes me laugh. And Sorted Food.
Okay, so you follow the things you follow. They update regularly enough that you don't need anything else.
I've still got like a stupid number of subscribers, and my feed is always clogged full of just mad things. But I wonder if it's their way of counting how many subscribers that you've got.
Subscriptions that you have.
Yeah, sorry, it won't tell me, but it's a pretty hefty list.
No, I don't know if there is. I think there might be on the mobile app, maybe. Certainly not on desktop. No. So, yeah, because Cameron watch on average 6 hours 50 minutes per day.
Good effort.
So Jesus Christ, Cameron, as I said in my tweet to you. So I need to watch less YouTube. I think I need to watch more other stuff. Good God, we've been going for 50 minutes now. We said at the start, before we started recording, we're both quite keen to do a relatively short episode today because I've got a bit of a cold. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, and I need
to check my stew.
Well, do you want to do that whilst we navigate en route to navigating to Patreon corner? Top lad.
Oh, okay. So we're all good. The stew is looking absolutely fine. I reckon it needs another half an hour, and then I can get my dangle my dumplings in, as it were. But here we are. We find ourselves in Patreon corner. This is the time and moment of the podcast where we like to thank those who give so generously to keep what we do alive. We have our top lads. We have our Team Cat and Team Dog. We'll update you on that in a moment.
We also need to thank Dan's Dumplings for just being there.
Just hanging, just hanging. But yeah, this moment is specifically a massive thank you to our top lads, who give so generously. So Simon, do you want to kick us off?
I would love to,
with
Daniel.
Our first few thank yous.
I'd like to say a massive thank you to David Scahill, Kyle Much, and Matt Maguire.
I'd like to follow that with a huge thank you from Dan Hanvey, Marut Vakira Punyawat, and Billy Toulson.
Also, thanks must go to the Moustache Man, Fee Gascoigne, and Connor Pull the Levers.
We've got another thank you from Choco Cat, who I think is a
brand new as we were talking. I think.
In fact, it's literally today.
Yeah,
the 1st of October. Wow, Choco Cat, thank you so much. Welcome. Lewis Watson and Ben McMurtry,
who we can't confirm work for the Theo Chocolate Company as well, but they might do.
But you never know.
Also, thanks go to Simon Torseth, Elliot Conway, and Lachlan Woods.
We've got Geordie Eschendahl, Davi Schramm Vontobel, and Tapio Kirkinen.
Oh, I do like a bit of Tapio. Thanks also to Jay Wright, Ben Dent, and wonderful Stephen,
Henry Brewster, Habiba Amjad, Eric Davis,
Isabella Strowski, Rory Healy, and John Mannion. And those are our top lads. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Who fund our donation to Wikimedia every month, who keep the podcast servers going, they pay for the hosting, and also now pay for our rampant, expensive chocolate addiction.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
But as well as those guys, so those are the people that give $5 a month. If that is a bit beyond you, that you can also support us by pledging $1 a month to either Team Dog or Team Cat. And, well, Dan, do you want to... Can you break the news about this?
Yeah, sure. So you're, as I'm sure is going to be an absolute shock, Team Dog are still again in the lead with 33 patrons to Team Cat's measly 26. Team Dog, ever so proud. Well done,
guys. Just come on. If you are a cat lover and you like this podcast, then for the love of God, you can afford $1 a month, and you can help me rub it in Dan's smug face and help us pay for more chocolate, okay? That's really what I care about here, but I also want to rub it in Dan's face that the cats are, in fact, the superior household pet.
He's not bitter or competitive at all.
Unlike the chocolate from Theo Chocolate, which is neither bitter nor competitive.
Very nice, that's good.
There you go. Oh, pay us for advertising. Theo, if you're listening. Well, it's no one actually called Theo. But Mr. Chocolate, if you're listening, hook us up. Top lad. So we have an email here from Anonymous. And Anonymous apologises for the text wall. Please summarise the information in any way you wish to make it more podcast friendly. So I may skim this and then you'll get a condensed version. So Anonymous writes, they are a sophomore attending a STEM university in a small town in rural Missouri, USA. They consider themselves left-wing, have a living where they do. They have no choice but to befriend some right-wing people, basically. Most of them, they are delighted to say, are wonderful people who just happen to disagree with them on certain issues. However, there is an apartment mate who, starting at the beginning of the year, I thought was unpleasant, but willing to give them a chance. Very quickly, Anonymous decided that they do not like this person. He frequently makes vulgar, racist, sexist, or homophobic comments, uses the N-word often with a hard R. Oh, wow. Unfortunately, not an uncommon thing on campus. I've heard secondhand that even professors sometimes say it. Jesus Christ. I lived with my roommate, note, different from an apartment mate, in a different dorm last year, and we got along great. He's a typical redneck stereotype, complete with conservative leanings, and I have reason to believe that he's a good person at heart, despite being fast friends with aforementioned apartment mate and joining in on his hateful tendencies, particularly the homophobic ones. Apart from the obvious, the problem with this is that I am myself a bisexual male who has a girlfriend. They do not know about my LGBT status and don't even know about my political leanings. I've kept them hidden for over a year and now fearful of judgment. Most of my friends on campus are mutual friends with my roommate, though the two closest ones have stated they consider me a closer friend now than him. I will now describe a few more grating examples, oh boy, this could get very dark very quickly, of this apartment mate's behaviour. I understand if these are not appropriate for the podcast. Once he and my roommate entered the room laughing. Apparently they had encountered a poster for the on-campus LGBT group, and my apartment mate tore it down and threw it to the ground. My roommate then apparently stomped on it and spat on it before walking away. And another time, that's more than an oh dear. I feel like, well, we're British, we're reserved. Okay. Another time I was leaving the dorm and the apartment mate was entering when he called me over and the following conversation ensued. Basically, I had the apartment mate said I had an altercation with some gay kid. And when the Anonymous said they didn't want to hear about the story, they sort of seemed to react in a strange way. Anonymous writes that I'm still not sure what they meant by this altercation, as it was my most recent interaction with him a few hours ago, and I'm not sure I want to know. So basically, Anonymous writes they live with a bully. Should they move out and be forced to give them some kind of reason, outing themselves as bi and left-wing and face derision and shaming, or should they keep quiet and spend as little time as possible in the room to avoid interacting with him? Apologies if this is a bit scatterbrained. My thoughts on the matter are quite complicated.
I can imagine, jeez.
Good grief, Anonymous. That is heavy stuff. Dan, I read the email. Over to you. What's your take on this?
Cheers. Thanks, mate. That's really, really tough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not an easy situation.
I worked in a kitchen. The end. No, I worked in a kitchen with and apparently this is sadly quite a common thing. Language in kitchens is shocking. Anyone who's worked in the catering industry will absolutely know what I'm talking about. But the head chef at this particular, it was quite a respectable place I was working, was just insanely ignorant and offensive and, sexist, racist, the whole shebang, who would often describe one of my co-workers as a bundle of sticks, knowing full well that he was a gay man. It reached a point where I felt so uncomfortable that I did confront the guy actually and say, look, I have no issue with this as a workplace. I really enjoy it. I enjoy most of my co-workers, but I'm finding a lot of the language you're using incredibly offensive. And I something needs to be done, because if it continues, I don't think I'm not going to be able to work here anymore. It ended up going to some kind of, like a workplace tribunal, if you like, where it was sat on with several other people. And basically management took my side and said, yeah, actually it's the 21st century, mate. You've got to we know that it's a very, passionate, hot-headed environment to work in, but equally a little bit more consideration needs to go through, what you're saying. And the issue was kind of resolved. I didn't have another bad experience like it, which as appalling as this head chef was, clearly showed that he took it on board and did his best. However he personally felt, how he treated his co-workers, was still awful, because chefs are like that, but his language was considerably toned down. So that was good. I think in your situation, it makes it even harder, is that, you're surrounded by friends who there's more relationships going on. It's more layered than just kind of like, I was working as a runner and he's a chef. So, I kind of just work under him. There's no kind of platonic relationship there. It's just professional. I think this is one of the first times where I'm not sure what advice to give. Yeah, because it's really hard. I think it's it goes without saying, you're doing an incredible job of putting up with this person.
He's very brave. Yeah.
Yeah. They he's a typical redneck stereotype. I can't imagine how hard that must be to have to associate with someone like that on such a frequent basis. I don't know whether there's somewhere you can go, someone in a professional role on campus.
But the problem with that is, of course, is that it's not a workplace dispute. If it's where you live, then
yeah, but equally, I don't know, if such an issue was occurring, say in a hall of residence at Exeter, well-being and probably actually just the university would clamp down on it. They're pretty helpful with.
They would, but I think that's because we live in a country where these kind of viewpoints
Yeah.
are not common, and from
See, this
rural
is what I mean.
USA, I imagine is anything but. It's
this is what makes it harder, because I can't personally. I don't really know what advice to give, and then also I can't relate it back to what I would do in that situation, because my understanding of an American university, certainly, small town, rural Missouri. I think that's really hard.
I think what I can do, I have a suggestion actually. Well, what I can do is give you the advice that I think is the right thing to do, and then I will tell you what I would do in the situation. And I think the right thing to do is to do something about it and move out, because it is not right that you should have to live in fear of who you are, because of how your apartment mates are. You shouldn't have to live in fear. You shouldn't have to hide who you are. I think that's generally a truism for everybody in life. This is obviously very difficult and it's awkward, but if you boil it down to brass tacks, I think it comes down to the fact that you shouldn't have to live being afraid of expressing how you think and who you are as a person. So I think that's sort of the ethical thing to do. I personally would be too scared to do that. I think if I was realistically in your situation, I would just put a tight, heavy lid on my feelings and just ride it out, because I know that I wouldn't be able to change their minds. They would just think, oh, is that the gay dude left? Like, oh, I guess he was a soy boy cuck or whatever, how these people think. My actions aren't going to have any impact on them. And that's like a massive problem with politics, and particularly it seems American politics at the moment. So that's sort of the difference then between an ethical and a practical response. What I suggest is, this is, I think, the most difficult quandary, the most difficult problem we've ever had in Crisis Corner. Can I suggest that if we are kind of at a loss, I've given two possible responses. Can I suggest that our readers write in, and next week on Crisis Corner, we don't read out a crisis, we read out our readers' emails offering their advice and seeing what their perspectives are. And particularly, I would really like to emphasize, guys, if you are a reader who is in a situation like this, perhaps you're LGBT and you're in a very right-wing society or a very right-wing part of the country, if you have ever been made to feel scared to, be honest about who you are, I would really, really like to hear from you. And I think probably more than on any other issue we've touched on, I think this is
I agree.
This would be a really good thing for you guys to email in and for us to read out what you guys think, because clearly we are incapable of offering any meaningful advice, and I feel like some of our readers will be able to help.
I think also what makes this one unique is that it's not even a case of not being able to offer advice. I think this is one of the few times where I have no idea how to feel in this situation in terms of trying to sympathize, and because it's so unlike anything that I've ever experienced. I can't even meet Anonymous halfway here. It's so other, readers, this is the one time I think more than ever that we're really asking for your help now.
Help us, Reader One Kenobi. You're our only hope.
Yeah. I think also it should be really important to note that Anonymous kind of concludes by saying, should I move out and be forced to give them some sort of reason why, thus outing myself as bisexual and a liberal leftist and face derision and shaming, or should I keep quiet and just spend little time as possible, but not be able to truly express myself? I think you can't consider that as an either or, because self-preservation is just as important as being true to yourself. Especially in instances where I think there's going to be there. It's perfectly okay to have some kind of middle ground here. I'm sure that there would be a way of you being able to raise an issue, but then also if you're not fully comfortable with completely outing yourself in this environment, you shouldn't be feel like you're going to have to make one choice, because otherwise it's like what's the lesser of two evils, rock and a hard place situation, which I think is, that may make the situation even worse. Hopefully with the listeners' help, with emails that we get in and we'll discuss next week, I'm sure that we're going to have a load of really, really good suggestions, many of which will actually be, might offer some kind of in-between. Because both of these ones are really, really tough.
Yeah, I mean, Anonymous, you are doing very brave to be in your situation. And I feel like you deserve some responses which have real-life experiences behind them. And I think more than any other time on this podcast, I would really, really appreciate the readers to write in and for us to hear from you.
Actually I'm going to summarize the issue of this and kind of condense it into a tweet and tweet that out and see if anyone because we know.
Well, we could post a screenshot of like a condensed version and then say to people to email in.
Yeah, that's true. We
can do that.
Okay, whatever happens, it will still remain completely anonymous.
Yeah. And equally, if you want to specify in your response to Anonymous that you yourself would like to be anonymized, then that is absolutely fine. So
yeah, I think as a rule of thumb, given that readers are responding to a Crisis Corner entry, any response will be anonymized.
Yeah.
If you want to, if you want to be identified, and maybe if you want Anonymous to reach out to you, then we can contact Anonymous for you and pass on that contact information, so you don't have to, be so in the limelight.
Yeah, but Anonymous, we are 100% with you. I said my 2 cents. Stick with it. Next week we'll have a whole section talking about this because I think it deserves it. But for now, I feel like we should move on to lighter topics in the final corner, in Correspondence Corner.
And we're here at last in Correspondence Corner. We're going to jump straight in. We've got an email here from Jessie. It says, hello from New Zealand. Dear Simon and Dan, greetings from New Zealand.
Previously in the podcast.
With the amazing chocolate. Greetings from New Zealand and shout out to all the Kiwi readers. I'm a long-time reader since episode 0. Wow. Since the pilot episode. But first-time writer. And I just want to tell you guys how much I love the Wikicast, and it's been a brilliant time. Oh, thanks very much, Jessie. I was born and raised in Taiwan and only moved to New Zealand a couple of years ago for university. Chinese Mandarin is my native language, so if you guys are still up for some language challenges, then here are some Chinese idioms and sayings that might interest you.
Oh, God.
I've put on Chinese characters in traditional form, the pronunciation and the meanings in English. Here we go.
Well, I can't see this email, so Dan, so I'm afraid you're going to have to do this on your own.
Oh, you lie like a cheap watch. Okay. Here we go. I'll start this first one. Ju de bu ku zin de bu lai. That's the old ones have to go so the new ones can come. In a way, you have to let go of the old stuff so you can embrace the new and better ones. Okay. So this is interesting. I'm trying to do this correctly. So I'm looking at the angle of the kind of the marking above each vowel in the phonetic kind of spelling, and trying to, because it's a tonal language, isn't it?
Yes.
So if I said like ju and ju, would they be two different things?
Yeah,
one goes up, one goes down, one's a consonant. Yeah. So bearing that in mind, I'm now going to apply that to the second one. Bearing in mind, and the reason I'm prefacing this is because I'm trying to do an okay job. I'm not wanting to come across as culturally insensitive and just awful, but I no doubt that's probably what's going to happen. So it's going to be shu da bi yu ku. I'm just going. Shut up. Let me try.
You sound like Jabba the Hutt. Shu da Wookie solo.
The yu ku ji ren du bi yu bai chi. There will always be dead branches in a big tree, like there are always idiots in a crowd. My personal credit. That's cool. I like that one.
That's nice. It rolls off the tongue, that one.
Yeah. Jesse goes on to say, also, I have a specific question for Dan. I'll be moving to Sydney next year and start my master's degree in marine science and management at the University of Sydney. And I'm just wondering if there's any tips for living in Australia. I've heard that New Zealand and Australia are quite similar, but my friends all appear to, let's say, dislike Australia in some ways. Thanks again for the brilliant podcast and all the best for you guys. Lots of love, Jesse. I'd say that New Zealand and Australia, like you say, are similar in some ways, but they're also really, really different in others.
You definitely just said arse. Sorry.
Well, there we go.
It's been a long day.
As far as tips, I don't know. It's like a tip for going anywhere. Be open-minded. Don't feel kind of comfortable and okay with exploring new things, and if it all gets a bit much, don't worry, that's completely fine. As far as if you're moving from New Zealand to anywhere, I feel Australia is kind of at least a slightly more gentle move because they are similar. But the Australian culture, I think you'll notice is different. I had friends who were from New Zealand, but I never myself went. But I think maybe Australia's is a bit more intense. I don't know.
Wait, because it's a bigger country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mean intense in terms of scale. I mean just the kind of the culture and the people. Maybe just because I think it's a little bit more of a kind of sprawling metropolis, whereas I think that might be the first time Australia has been described as a sprawling metropolis. That is on so many levels, not true. No, I don't know even why I said that. No. Well, New Zealand, yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I think you'll notice a difference, and I don't know what those differences are, but it'll be different.
Breaking reporting on the Wikicast.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much, Jesse, though, for your email.
God, we're
all the best with your master's degree.
How are
and
we
I'm really
this
sorry
incompetent?
Sorry for the pronunciations.
Okay. Next up, we have an email from Jessica Minieri, which is a lovely name. I like that. Hi, Simon and Dan. I like that order even more. I've been wanting to write in since I started listening to the Wikicast in June, and your episode on the women's liberation movement in Europe gave me the perfect opportunity. So, if you recall, we asked for feminist literature recommendations. So I believe that is what Jessica has written in with. I'm an American student in the last year of my BA in History and Medieval Studies. I'm currently doing a research project right now on the subject of women's history and queenship in medieval and early modern Europe. While these book recommendations are probably not the kind you were looking for, as they are mostly related to queenship, they're still interesting ones to check out. And the first one has already got me sold because it's called Game of Queens, The Women Who Made 16th Century Europe by Sarah Gristwood.
Nice.
That's an interesting one. Queenship in Medieval Europe by Theresa Ehrenfeit. I'm sorry, what? Her surname is Ehrenfeit.
Gosh.
And one feminist... and one modern feminist article, Gender, a Useful Category of Historical Analysis by Joan Scott. So a Game of Queens, I think I've heard of actually before.
I think I have too, actually.
I might have to add that to my... what's it called? My Goodreads, because that does sound interesting. Yeah, it's got a good rating on Goodreads. Cool. Thank you for that, Jessica. These works are great for learning about women's history and the various ways women are involved in politics throughout history. I'm also in the process of applying to do a PhD in European history. I'm equally nervous and excited. Funnily enough, just today, a very good friend of mine just handed in his PhD about concepts of kingship in. He actually published. He put a picture on his Facebook of his title because, like you take the picture of the thesis and everything. It is Images of Kingship in Bishops' Biographies and Deeds in 12th Century England and Germany. So very, very similar, actually, but sort of the other flip side of the coin. Anyway, Jessica writes, Simon, do you have any tips for calming my nerves about the application process? Love the podcast. Makes my commute to university a lot better. Well, I'm glad that we brighten your commute. In terms of application process tips, basically just keep in mind the fact that you are applying to do something that you find fantastically interesting, and it is the opportunity for you to study something that you think is really cool for actually if you're in America it might be 7 or 8 years. It's an amazing opportunity, and I feel like it's very easy to get intimidated and scared, but don't lose sight of how awesome what you're trying to do is. Like, I feel like that then transfers the nerves from fearful nerves to excited nerves, and it gives you a lot more motivation. So just bear that in mind. Like, what you are proposing to do is so awesome, and you're so lucky to be in a situation to even try and do it. And yeah, focus on that. Don't focus on any aspect of you being judged on your intellect or anything like that. Just focus on why it is that you're applying to do it, and yeah, I feel like that will get you through. But thank you very much for the email. That is, I have added Game of Queens to my my Goodreads. Thank you very much for the recommendations.
We have another email here from Grace Carter. The main reason I'm reading this article is because it's attached, a picture's attached, and I'm going a little bit insane.
It's a duck!
It's a huge duck. It's massive.
Look at that big, thick boy.
Grace says, "Hi guys, I was just listening to episode 41 while cleaning my room and wanted to add to your discussion of ducks. I don't have much experience with geese, which is a great phrase in itself. I want that on a t-shirt. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt, with geese, But I can say without a shadow of a doubt that ducks are far more terrifying." Grace, I don't know about that. "I completed an undergrad at the University of Wollongong, UOW, and the campus is known for having a large..."
That's the university that Murlocs go to? Because it just sounds like Wollongong.
Wollongong, yeah. I lived near Warrnambool, I think. But that's the cool thing about city names in Australia, that they've as a really token trite a kind of way to soothe native relations. A lot of places were renamed their original Aborigine name. So there's I can't think of them right now, but there's some really great ones.
There's Goondiwindi is one of them. I remember that one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the ones I used to live near. Anyway, I'm going to read this and then I'll try and think of some. And the campus is known for having a large duck population, and one particularly nasty duck that lives near the uni bar, known as the evil duck. Nominative determinism at its point. There we go. One day during my second year, I was sitting by the uni bar pond eating lunch, and there was a young family sitting nearby. While I was sitting there, the evil duck walked towards the pond. Noticing the small child near the water, it decided to jump on the back and attack the child.
Oh my God.
The parents didn't know what to do, and another student jumped to pull the duck off. This is not... God, pull the duck off. Wow, lucky duck. You lucky duck. There we go.
See, in my head as well, until you said that last bit, it was like a student was going to dive in, rugby tackle this duck off, and then apparently he just wanked it off.
Yeah, wow.
This is not an uncommon
You'd struggle
incident.
Because corkscrew penises.
Yes, they do.
There you go. This is not an uncommon incident. I have several friends who have had lunch stolen by or been chased off the lawns by this duck. I have added a photo so you can see how big these ducks are. Best, Grace. See, they are big ducks.
I've got to say, is the person who took this photo still alive? Because I'm looking in the soulless eye that is.
I don't know whether it's a duck or a velociraptor.
I mean, it's a velociraptor of webbed feet. I mean, that fun fact. That's not actually red colouring around its eyes. That's blood.
That's blood. Yeah, it's recently feasted.
We'll have to put this on the Patreon. But oh my God. That's such an evil-looking duck. Well, thank you for that email, Grace. If nothing else, just so we now have the phrase, "I don't have much experience with geese" in our vocabulary. I kind of want a print of that. I don't have much experience with geese, and then someone just shrugging, overlaid over the top of it. Sorry, I don't have much experience with geese. Oh dear.
Crazy.
Lucky state of mind to be in.
And just before we go, we are going to, as a bit of a teaser, we do have two fan fictions to read. We're going to be saving those for next week. We have a continuation of our preview.
Jesus Christ!
Lord. Oh God! Oh my! All of my teeth have fallen out. Oh God! What am I going to do? I can't. No, it's the I don't actually know what it. Oh, it's the fairy lights. There we go. Don't worry, my teeth are actually fine.
Drool coming out of your mouth.
We have episode 2 of Case of the Deleted Pixels by Joshua, and we have a new writer of the Wikicast, Anna Bryan, has written in with The Weatherman.
I'm so hyped for that.
Part 1. So we're gonna do that next week. We already know it's going to be good because she ends her email with "P.S. Dogs are better than cats," and "P.P.S. You're wrong about The Last Jedi." I like that.
Well,
that's good.
I mean, it's wrong on both counts, but I mean, I admire the spunk. Yeah. Much like the spunk of the evil duck.
Yeah, God.
Jesus.
And on that bombshell.
Yeah. What have we learned about... Sorry, no, that's your line. Sorry. Oh, it's all falling apart.
Simon, what have we learned today?
Well, Daniel, we have learned about Theo Chocolate, which you might not be able to remember because apparently your memory is like a sieve today.
What? We've done it? What? Who?
Yeah. It's the wiki. We'll take you home now. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, when did my teeth fall out? I forgot that.
Oh, that broke me. Oh my God. Yeah, we learned about Theo Chocolate, I just went up an octave for no reason, which was there's a few suspicious gaps in the timeline of this. Someone dies of cancer and then nothing happens for 10 years. And now, if someone... you were going to try and get some, weren't you? There's some of this chocolate for us to eat.
I'm not going to give up until I can get specifically... I want to try and get this ghost chili one. However, if... Oh, I don't know how we're going to do this. If you're willing to help us in this quest of trying to get this chocolate, email in, and we'll arrange a way of you sending it to us, and then as a token of our respect, we'll have a chat with you privately.
You bourgeoisie bastard!
I think that's fair.
As a token of our respect, we'll be willing to talk to you.
No, I mean, but like do them on a call, like a FaceTime call, like like a natural thing, so they're actually getting more out of it than just hearing. Obviously, if we do a piece of media about us doing the chocolate, it will be a video. It's not going to be done on the podcast where we just go, oh yeah, it's quite it's quite hot. There'll be some video element to it. But yeah, email in spongyelectric@gmail.com. We had Critic's Corner.
We did Critic's Corner. I was talking about Brian Cox, and I also talked about Eton, and we were talking about Solo, and then we had Crisis, which was the most sort of the toughest case we've ever seen.
The first case that we haven't been able to crack.
Gosh, my reputation as a consulting weatherman has been ruined.
I know, it's tragic.
So
again, to re-emphasize, this is a official call to arms of the readership.
Rise up, everyone. We need your help.
Yeah. Do get in contact any way you can. Spongeyelectric@gmail.com. You can tweet. You can tweet Simon or myself. At Daniel J Moore is me. Simon is.
Oh, sorry, you were talking about
that
me.
Was a plug so you could say
at Simon Oxfizz. Sorry.
Okay, flawless. It's great.
Sorry,
as you said,
I was
it's been a
looking
long
at a
day.
picture of Sideshow Bob where they're taking his hair off and he looks like a cone head.
Of course you are.
Sorry.
Why not? I'm glad to know that I've got your...
This podcast has just degenerated so badly.
Yeah. Oh, we did the Correspondents Corner as well.
And we got fan
really
fiction going. Yes, that was it.
And that's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice. You can like us on Facebook, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Thoughts on our crisis of the week, replacement teeth for Dan, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole, and we'll see you next time. So, we need a crisis. We need a crisis.
Sounds like steam escaping.
Crisis. We're going to do...
a weakling weighing 98 pounds.
We'll get sand in his face when kicked to the grind.